Hey friends, welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to winter at Lake of the Ozarks. Now, again, we are a brokerage that meets in two states, Colorado and Missouri. So actually right now I'm in Colorado, but Colorado right now looks a lot like Missouri right now. It's almost identical weather. And as we're having conversations with you, you guys are asking questions. Hey, what is the weather like right now? And what should I expect if I relocate or if I move there, if I buy there? Hey, just tell me a little bit about the winter season. Thought that'd be a good idea to have a video. In fact, just the other day I was talking to somebody and they asked me if it was legal to have studded tires on the roads in Missouri. And so the short answer is yes, it is legal to do that, but also at the same time, it's pretty much not necessary. So the amount of snow that they get in Missouri is obviously very minimal. So I wanted to talk through a few of those things as we kind of get into these winter months, right? And as we're in the winter months, probably winter here is probably a lot like winter in most places, right? I think things kind of slow down a little bit. Obviously, the weather gets colder, places kind of close, and we talk about it all the time. This is a seasonal destination, so a tourism destination, and a lot of these lakeside bars and restaurants and outdoor activities and some of these places that we like to go and visit during the summertime, a lot of those are gonna shut down during the wintertime. Clearly, water parks and golf courses and certain things are not gonna be able to be used during those cold winter months. But there's also a little bit of a difference between Lake of the Ozarks winters and maybe some of these other places. But one of the things with this area is obviously things like to close down, things shut down, things in general just kind of slow down. And it's a good kind of change of pace, I think, from the summertime, which is the complete opposite, right? It's nonstop hustle and bustle and fun and lake life and all of the things that we can do. But in the wintertime, obviously you're not able to do some of those things. So anyway, a couple of questions that we get along the way. Tell me about the weather and the temperatures. And so on average, the weather and temperatures in this area during the day are normally around the 30s, maybe 40s. Like that's the average over the winter season. And then in the evenings, it'll clearly drop down to the teens, somewhere in there. And just like any other part of the country, you'll have these Arctic fronts, right? These cold blasts that'll kind of come in. And I mean, I think just recently, like Florida has snow. And so we shoot these videos in pretty much real time. In real time, I think Florida's throwing snowballs on the beach. So the concept that there is a lot of snow here, though, is a misunderstanding. And so I think on average, this entire area gets around 6 to 8 inches of snowfall per year. And so what that probably means is you have some flurries and some 1 inch here and maybe 2 inches here. You don't really get dumps of snow, right? You don't get 6 to 12 to 18 inches of snow like you do in maybe some of the other parts of the country. But when it does snow, there are some challenges around that. And the majority of the challenges are going to be getting around the lake and sometimes just getting out of your driveway. Like we have a very steep driveway. Most people at the lake are going to have a very steep driveway. It's the norm. So if you have some type of flat property or flat driveway, we call those unicorns. So the majority of us are driving out of our property to get up to the main road. And if you have an inch or two of snow on your driveway, like clearly depending on what you're driving, it's either going to be easy to get out of that or odds are good, it's probably going to be very difficult. So that will be something to think about if you relocate down here and you're here in the wintertime and you do get a snowfall. Like maybe don't go anywhere, right? Just stay tight. Don't travel, don't go to the store, maybe don't go to work, I don't know, but like just getting out of your driveway could be a challenge. So you're probably gonna have to shovel it. Even if you shovel it, it's probably gonna be icy and slick. And again, depending on what you're driving, that's either gonna work or it's not gonna work. So think about that on the rare occasions that we get snowfall. And the other thing with just driving around is if you do make it out of your driveway, you're still driving in a very hilly, curvy, mountainous kind of area. And so it is going to be challenging, right? Because snowfall is not normal, you don't have the infrastructure and the snow plows and things to remove it and take care of the roads or salt or those kinds of things. You know, whereas in other places like Colorado, they have a massive infrastructure. So tons of plows out there doing everything to make it easier to commute and get around. Lake of the Ozarks is the complete opposite. Your main roads can get attended to, right? But all your side roads and the offshoots onto the lake, clearly those lakefront roads, they're not going to get plowed. They're not going to get attended to. So just food for thought. So again, we don't get a ton of snow, but in those off chances that they do get snow, 1 to 2 inches, 3 inches, something like that, it is going to cause some issues, some problems getting out of your driveway. And clearly once you're out of your driveway, it can still be challenging just driving around. So something to think about if you're down here in the wintertime. A lot of people ask me too about, does the lake freeze during the winter? And I think the lake has frozen over one time in the history. I don't know how far back that goes, but I've never once seen the lake freeze over. You might have shallow water at the end of a cove that could freeze over a little bit, but your main coves, your big body of water, that's typically not going to freeze over unless you continuously get obviously below freezing temperatures, but that has to be steady for a long time. This is a big body of water, so if it drops to 10 degrees overnight, you're not going to wake up and have a frozen lake. It's just too big to freeze like that. But as you'll see in some of these B-rolls and shots, right, that now is a unique time where we've had consistency with below freezing temperatures. It's been a week or 2 weeks of sub-zero, but below freezing. And so the lake is starting to freeze up more in those bigger areas. It's unique to kind of see because it's very rare that you have that. And I think that's why a lot of people love this area, especially those that relocate and still want to be on the water during the winter. Normally the folks that are on the water in the wintertime are the fishermen, right? And those that like to go out and fish and spend time out there. You can do that year round. So you can still go out and fish and you can still be on the water, again, because the norm is that this lake is not going to freeze over. So if that's something you like to do, or if that's part of the reasons why you're moving down here, it is not normal for this entire lake to freeze over. You might have some pockets and some coves. You might have a 2-3 week stretch of really cold weather that could freeze up a little bit more. But for the norm, a lot of people are still out driving their boats in the wintertime. Other things in the wintertime are just kind of hit and miss. We talked to a lot of people that like golfing. Yeah, like right now, clearly there's a bunch of snow, so you're not gonna golf right now. It's just too cold. But these golf courses will stay open year round, given that the weather is conducive to go out and golf. If you have a white golf ball in snow, I'm pretty sure that's not going to work. But anyway, there are some things that you can still do in the winter time because in the norm, right, the temperatures are still conducive for outdoor lifestyle and outdoor recreation activities. And so golfing is a big thing we talk to people about. Hiking and biking and going into the state parks is also something that a lot of people ask questions about. And because it's average temperatures in 30s, 40s, and they'll get some warm days in the 50s and 60s, right? You can still go outside and enjoy that where, obviously in other parts of the country, it maybe just be too cold to go do that, or, again, golf courses shut down. So you can do some outdoor activities. Obviously, on those maybe sunnier or warmer days, those golf courses will stay open year round. Barring weather, you can get out there and do it. Another thing with the weather that's unique around here is the humidity. So depending on where you live in the country, again, in Colorado, there is no humidity, right? It's a very dry state. So your temperature is your temperature. If it's 30 degrees outside and the sun is shining, it actually doesn't seem that cold. Well, when you stack in humidity on top of cold temperatures, that moisture in the air makes it feel a lot colder. So even though it might say 30 or 40 or sometimes 50, depending on the humidity level that day or that week, man, it could feel 10 to 20 degrees colder. And so just some of those things, right? I think that most anybody is going to understand and deal with, in a winter time. But again, you're not getting a ton of snowfall. You don't need studded tires to get around. There will be some inconvenience. So when it does snow, getting out of your driveway, getting around town, those things are going to be challenging. Obviously, a lot of the lakeside restaurants and bars are already closed down, but those other outdoor activities, hit or miss, they're sporadic. Some will stay open. Again, if the weather's warm enough, others will close if the weather's not conducive to getting outside. But it's obviously just a different time of year. It's winter. The other thing that a lot of people do on my last note for the winter is work on their property, especially your seawall. So after Labor Day into that October, November, December month, they start to drain the lake, right? They start to let out all the water. They'll drop the water level 6 to 8 feet every year, which gives homeowners opportunity to get out and work on their seawall, right? Not just their seawall, but maybe a little bit of the property or the shore into the water. So there's normally always maybe some type of maintenance that you'd have to do on your seawall. So sometimes there's always going to be a little bit of maintenance to do on your seawall. Fix some cracks, maybe some stones fell off. You gotta, put a little concrete down there. There's always maybe a little bit of something that you can do. Your seawall is also where your dock is attached to. So you have these big cables that go from your dock to your seawall. They're anchored in. So in the wintertime, very important to have a dock person, dock company, because what you'll want to do is loosen those cables, because as the water levels drop, those cables become super tight and you run the risk of them snapping. So first tip is make sure that they come out, your dock people come out, and they, as the water resides and we know we're down that 6 to 8 feet, they're gonna wanna loosen those cables to ease the strain on those cables. And then obviously from a maintenance perspective, you have an opportunity to do any type of maintenance from those cables to your seawall, a little bit of dock maintenance, a little bit of the shoreline maintenance, things like that, right? You're just kind of hibernating a little bit in winter, you're slowing down a little bit in winter, the leaves are off the trees, restaurants have closed down, you're just kind of doing life. And like the most of us, you're just probably waiting for summertime to roll back around. Springtime is a fun time because everything comes alive, but right now, a little bit of snow, a little bit of cold, but still a great place to relocate and retire, because you're not gonna have that constant below freezing temperatures. You're not gonna have heavy snowfalls. Really, at the end of the day, you're gonna have longer summers, longer springs and falls, in a shorter little winter season. So anyway, fun little video. If there's any other questions that I can help you with, clearly don't hesitate, call me, text me, email me, like the video, subscribe, leave me comments, anything that you would want to see even moving forward. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know what I can do for you. Till then, we'll see you on the next video. Bye.